All right, welcome to our Mastery Tips and Tricks show. We are here to inspire, educate, and serve and help you own it in life and business. And we have a special guest today, Natalie Mullin, and we are going to be talking about all things disruptive wellness. So please introduce yourself and thanks so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's a joy to be here. And my name is Natalie Mullin. I am a speaker. I'm a holistic life coach, wellness coach, and I am very passionate about helping people pursue wellness in a way that's in alignment for them. And my work is serving mostly women, so women who feel unfulfilled in their careers, their wellness, their relationships, and I help them to discover what is their purpose, what do they actually want, and then how do they go after it so that they feel fulfilled. And it's kind of I do it through coaching. So I have two different coaching programs, and I love working with women one on one. I also do workshops, and I do bigger speaking opportunities from stages and stuff like that to different audiences. Always sharing that message of how do you take care of your own well being.
I love it. And we know that if we don't fill our cup first, we can't pour from an empty cup. And I know that's one of your major philosophies that you teach from. So tell us, how did you arrive at that? And how did you get to be doing what you're doing now?
Yeah, and it's so funny, Heather, because that is at the end of the day, that's what I'm so passionate about. How do we fill our cups? I have my own podcast. It's called From a Full Cup. And the reason behind that is because we always hear that popular adage, okay, you can't pour from an empty cup. But we're not thinking about, well, what's on the other side? On the other side of it is that we have to be intentional about filling our cups. We have to go out of our way. Society doesn't make it like, where you'll have lots of free time, lots of rest time, lots of peaceful moments. Society is almost against us. It's filling our brains, it's filling our calendars. We have so many things to do. So we really have to be intentional about carving out time for ourselves and carving out experiences, memories, opportunities that are going to be fulfilling to us. And I had to learn this the hard way. So I had my own business, and I was just pressing really hard as you do when you're a business owner. You're wearing all of the hats and at every moment wondering, why did I get into this thing? And sometimes it can be really hard juggling all of these different roles and responsibilities. But I thought I was doing a good job until one day, all of a sudden, I heard my husband say these words, I want a divorce. And I remember looking at him and being like, what did you just say? Like I thought I heard wrong. So I was like, what else rhymes with divorce? There's not a lot of words that rhyme with divorce. Long story short, I hadn't realized that as I was so busy focusing on my business, working with my employees, working on the product, working on the marketing, I wasn't paying attention to my home life. So I didn't see that things were starting to slip. And so my husband and I got separated, and that sent me into a huge depression. And at that point, I was kind of sitting there because I was like, well, was it worth it in the end? Was it worth it to be building this business? Was it worth it to be chasing my dreams if now I'm about to lose my family? And this is what mattered most to me. And I really had to have a moment and just sitting there like, how did I get here? I've done something wrong. And the reason is because I was operating out of alignment. I wasn't thinking about how do I want to feel and what do I fully want. I thought about one part of it. Oh, I want a business, but I didn't think about how does that fit into the bigger vision of my life? What do I want for my actual life? How do I want to feel for my life? Because all our parts of our life are interconnected. And sometimes we're thinking them in silos. We're thinking about, okay, I'm just going to work on the business. We don't realize how our career impacts our finances. We don't realize how our finance impacts our health. We don't realize how our health impacts our mindset. Our mindset impacts our spirituality. Our spirituality impacts our relationships. Okay. And I could go on and on. So everything is interconnected. And it's in that moment I realized I was operating in a siloed version of life. And so I worked with a wellness coach, an unofficial one, but she really kind of helped me pull myself together, kind of get out of this depressive state that I was in. I just started focusing on myself, and I was like, okay, what is the life that I do want for myself? Because I never want to be here again. I never want to be misguided and operating out of alignment. Okay. And I'm not one who believes in just chasing success because what do we even define success as, right? Is it money? Is it a certain figure? Is it a role? How do we define success? I think that's really important because otherwise, if you can't define success, you just keep chasing and chasing. You never feel fulfilled. You'll have everything in the world and you'll still be miserable. So, anyways, I kind of started my own journey and I went through my own wellness journey and addressing all of the different 12 areas of wellness that you really do need to have a holistic view on wellness and a holistic outcome. And thankfully, as I started working on myself and doing those things, my husband and I's marriage was actually restored. And I'm very grateful for that because it was a huge blessing that was unexpected. And so now I know to prioritize that because that to me is my healthy life. That to me is my wealthy life. Okay. And now I'm thinking about how does everything else come into alignment with the marriage that I want, with me feeling secure, me feeling confident. Right. And so that's what I'm really passionate about. That's kind of the backstory of how I got into wellness. And then I started helping all these other people, and they're like, how do you leave your job? How do I do all these different things that you've done, right? I decided to change careers a couple times. There's lots of things that I've done, and people started asking me how, and I was like, okay, I guess let me give you some tips because I think in society sometimes we don't feel confident to just chase our dreams and just do something that is counter to what everyone else expects. But I'm that person who will come and I'll push you. Like, forget what everybody else wants. Do what's in alignment for you.
Yeah, I love that. It's so important. And what a great lesson to learn. And I'm so glad the outcome was so positive for you. Not only did you learn that everything is really connected, I like to say it's like a toothpicks all holding the house up. The relationships, what you eat, your exercise, your sleep, all of those things are all interconnected. And if we're just focused on just the business, everything else falls down. And what we realize is that if we are putting one thing over the other, it can only happen for so long. In the book, The One Thing, he explains it as your relationships and your health being glass balls and your business more of a rubber ball. And so you could put the business down for a little bit and it will usually bounce back, but there's only so long that you can put your relationships and your health down before they break. And
I
so one
love
of my
that.
biggest philosophies is to work on you and not just your business. Take everything out of the calendar, put you, your faith, and your family first, because that's not how I built my business the first 10 years either.
Yeah.
And I was dating somebody and I was studying at Landmark at the time. They taught us to interview people. So we would interview people in our life. What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? What's in our blind spot? What's my strong suit? And what was in my blind spot, which I was told was I was canceling all the friends and family things to make the
Hmm.
business keep
Yeah.
working. And what I realized was I had no integrity in my relationships because I could never keep my word. And then those relationships can't thrive. And as you said, what is success to everyone defines it differently. And I truly believe having healthy relationships is an important part of our health and wellness, and that can help the business thrive. But really, what's the point if you do it all and you're in the glass tower at the end all alone? Right. So absolutely love what everything you said, and that you came out of the lesson on the other side. And now you get to turn around and help other people set themselves up for success, ideally not have to learn from the same mistakes, right? Jim Rohn would say, instead of spending 10 years trying to figure it out, why don't you just learn from somebody who already did it, right? Read one book, save yourself 10 years. So what you're teaching people is full fulfillment means fill your cup first.
Absolutely. And I love what you shared because I think so many times, especially for entrepreneurs, we're goal oriented, we're ambitious people, and we're going with drive. And so these are positive qualities, right? So
Mhm.
it's so hard to even recognize when you are not paying attention to your family, when you're not paying attention to your friends, you're not paying attention to your health. But what's so important for entrepreneurs to also recognize, just as you described the business as a rubber ball, I want you to think, even if the business drops a bit, guess what? Rubber, it bounces back up. If it's glass and it drops, it shatters and you can't necessarily put it back together. So there are so many people whose families end up in divorce or their relationships, maybe they lose friendships, they lose close connections to their family, or their health is destroyed. And now they have chronic diseases and illnesses because they didn't take care of it when they had the opportunity. And sometimes people will say, oh, well, I just got to get the business to this point, or I know next year I'm going
Mm.
to worry about my health. Next year I'm going to go to the doctor. Next year I'm going to start exercising. And then guess what? You get a diagnosis and it's too late. And so that's what I'm really passionate about, because I don't know why we always think of the next year I'll get to it.
When I, then
Unfortunately,
I'll.
yeah. And it's like
Sure.
when it comes to relationships and health, it doesn't work like that. And
Yeah,
so we have to really realize and really treasure those resources, because they don't just bounce up and down. Okay. So we've got to be intentional. And in relationships, it also includes our relationship with our own self.
yes,
Okay. Some of us,
absolutely.
we're
Number
disconnected from
one.
our, yeah, yeah. Some of us, we're disconnected from our own desires. What do we even want out of life? Right? Some of us are opening up businesses because of other people. Somebody else gave us the dream, or somebody else said we should do this. And it's not even what we want to do. There are a lot of business owners who don't even want to be business owners because they've lost the joy. They've kind of forgotten, why did I get into this in the first place? So that's the first thing, is you've got to be in alignment with what you want for yourself, right? I think that's really important.
Absolutely. Yeah. So diving into your tips on your zone of genius so that we can disrupt the wellness industry. Wellness is not just about supplements and having a six pack and any of that kind of stuff. It's holistic. It's mind, body, soul, spirit. And all of this impacts our business. And we are our glass ceiling in our business. So it is so essential that we take care of this and fill our cup so that the business can thrive. But the truth is, as you were saying, one of your first tips is to be in alignment. We have to know what we want. And it's so important to pause and, as you said, and ask what you want, not what you think you're supposed to do, what society told you to be a doctor because your dad was a doctor or what have you, but what you actually want. And this was something we were talking about before, and I want to bring it in now because I think it's such an important part, is living your purpose on purpose. So your purpose is connected to who you are. So tell us a little bit more about your purpose, and it's connected to with
Yeah.
who we
So
are.
I love talking about purpose because purpose seems mysterious. A lot of people are going through life and they're saying, I don't know my purpose. I wish I knew my purpose. I feel like I'm called for more. I feel like I'm not fulfilling my potential. And so a lot of times people will ask me, well, how do you know what your purpose is? And I think people think like purpose is just something you go and pick up off the shelf and it's like, oh, I got my purpose today.
I
And it
found
doesn't quite
it.
work like, yeah, exactly. So, and I'm going to give two answers. In one sense, purpose is mysterious. You don't always have it figured out. But the other side of that is I believe that purpose is directly within you. The skills, the gifts, the talents that you have of how you can serve the world, how you can impact others, how you can help others, your purpose is tied to that. So
Yes.
you might not have the full 100% vision of what it looks like, but it's not something that you go out and get. It's something that you need to look inward in. And you just need to discover it for yourself and then step into it. And as you step into it, that percentage grows till you get to that place where you're operating from that 100% of purpose. And sometimes we get caught up in numbers. So maybe it's not 100%. Maybe you're operating at 80. Okay. It doesn't matter. When you are using the gifts, the skills, and talents within you to make a positive impact for others, you are now operating in your purpose. And it's important because when I work with a lot of clients who are unfulfilled in their work,
Mm.
and they have a hard time making career changes though, especially like if you went to school. So I come from a teaching background, and I resigned from full-time teaching now, but when you meet teachers, like that's what they went to school for. So it's really hard for them to envision doing any other role besides that. When I left full-time teaching, everybody was like, well, how can you leave teaching? Isn't that your purpose? Like now what are you going to do? And I said, but my purpose is me. So wherever I go, my purpose comes with me. I can still impact others. I can still serve others, including children, including students, even outside of this role. And so I think it's really important to detach the idea of purpose from a specific career role or a specific identity and understand the purposes within us. Then
Mm.
we have more confidence now to allow ourselves to experience different spheres, different opportunities, knowing we can still make that impact wherever we go.
I love it. And so, what I get for a lot of people, and like what you're saying, people are so stuck on, well, what's my purpose? And so I love the question, like, what do you love? Like, what do you love? And then the second is, what do people tell you you're really good at? Because
Mhm.
that'll usually give you a hint of what you're unconsciously, intuitively doing, how you're serving the world. So there's the saying, it's like, look for what you love, look for the gap in the market, and then look at how you can serve that. And that's your purpose. That's what you came here to do. It's really connected to who you are, and you get to take that wherever you go. So for me, it's to help birth unity, consciousness, and peace in heaven on earth. So no matter where I am, what I'm doing, I get to bring that purpose with me. And Bob Proctor would teach us that you leave your impression of increase, your legacy with every interaction that you're having. So your purpose comes into who you are. It's not just what you're doing. And I love that. So it's really about how we are showing up in the world, and that we can bring that through all of our walks of life. And it is something for us to go in and discover. And I do believe it evolves with us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next tip is to be in the moment. So this is perfect because I've listened already on Audible, and now I'm reading The Power of Now. So be in the moment. Tell us more about how that is disruptive to wellness.
Yeah, and that book is on my list, so I hope to get to it soon. But really, where the idea of be in the now comes from, or be in the present, is because the way our society is designed, we are always going. Okay, we are running on the hamster wheel, and we're running quickly. We're just going from one thing to the next. It's like, oh, you wake up, it's like, oh my gosh, got to get ready for work. You get ready for work, then maybe you go to get the kids, or you go to volunteer, or you go to the gym, and then you're doing something else, and then it's time for bed, and then you wake up and you do the same thing. And then we don't even have restful weekends anymore. On the weekends, it's like, okay, I got to do this event in the morning, and then I have to do this at lunch, and then I have to go here in the evening. So when do we rest? When do we just pause and really just be still? And I don't even mean be in the moment of something exciting. Let's be in the moment of stillness and boredom. I had the privilege of living on a tiny little island called Antigua. There's only about 90,000 people. And for me, moving from Canada to Antigua, I was not expecting so much stillness. I did not know what it looked like to have such a slow life. And at first, it was really bothersome because I was like, I'm just used to doing something every day. I'm used to lots of lights. I'm used to lots of sounds, lots of stimuli.
Addicted
But
to
on an island,
productivity.
yeah, but then I just had to slow down because the whole society was a slower society. But I gained so much peace in just actually having time for myself. There was nothing on my calendar to do. Maybe I just go to work and that's the one thing for the day I do. My weekends, I actually had to myself. I said, wow, what do I want to do this weekend? I just want to sit here. I just want to
That's
meander.
okay.
I just want to sit still. And so just having that moment to pause and just rest, different ideas come to you. You just get to be more peaceful. You appreciate the things around you. You're like, oh, a tree. Like, I wonder what kind of tree it is, right? Just a little small thing. But it can be so revolutionary in terms of how that fills your cup, that time that you get to spend with yourself, that time where you control how your time flows. You get to decide what are the activities that you're doing or not doing. And then really being grateful. So taking the time to be grateful for the opportunity, even if it is with other people. In Antigua at that time, there was no rush. So you could meet someone at the grocery store or you would see them on the side of the road. Sometimes you stay there for 2 hours standing in the grocery store just talking to them because nobody's in a rush to go anywhere. Or you're on the road and you're driving. Sometimes you'll see people in a conversation on a road and you're honking because you need to go and they're just talking to each other back and forth. And you're like, God, move, you're blocking up the entire road. It's because people have a different concept of time. They are more appreciating the conversation, not the fact that they're blocking up the entire road and there's 20 people behind them. And I'm not saying that that's the best thing to do because that can be really frustrating.
Yeah, but it's
But
a complete contrast of our
exactly, it's such a
human doing.
contrast. And it's such a beautiful thing. I'm so grateful for the experience of when I lived there because now I just know to go slower. And if I feel that I'm getting emotionally it's there's too much stimulation, I'm overregulated, my nervous system is overregulated, then I know I just have to pause. I've got to detach from others, I've got to detach from too much stimuli and just be in the moment by myself.
Yeah, and it's so important for you to carve that time out, because what I kept hearing in my mind, what most people would say to that is, well, I don't have time to do that. Here's the truth. You're never going to have the time unless you make the time. You can't find the time. You have to make the time. Time is an illusion. What we manage is our activities, not necessarily the time. So we like to call it time blocking.
Hmm.
In Landmark in the self-expression leadership program, they teach you how to run a really high functioning um, like achieve a lot and be really high functioning without being in the overwhelm. And for them, it even means scheduling the off time. So I
Mm.
like to say I have a no schedule Sunday, because I still remember when I got my first job and they tried to schedule me on a Sunday, and we didn't go to church anymore at that time, but still my mom was like, no, we do not work Sundays. That is not allowed. And I was like, but the boss said. She said, I don't care. You tell them it's not how we do it in this house. And they thought, well, that's interesting. And we are addicted to productivity, to fast pace. And I want that hustle culture to die out. I want us to lean into doing less, being in more joy. Abraham Hicks has a saying where if you work 25% less and you did 50% more things for fun, your results would improve 100%. So one of the things I focused on asking myself this year is, am I like happy? Am I enjoying my life? Not what did I accomplish today?
Right.
And in those moments when we can carve out just to have a no schedule Sunday, I call it the human being day instead of the human doing day. And then holding those boundaries, right? A friend's like, we're going to go cold plunge and go to hot yoga, and we're going to meet at this time. And I was like, well, I'll let you know on Sunday. If I wake up and I feel like doing it, I'll see you there. And if I don't, I won't. And they were like,
Mm.
what do you mean? And I was like, it's human being day. So I'm just going to be whatever I feel like I need to be that day. And it's a new concept, right? To normalize rest, to normalize peace, to normalize downtime, right? In our culture in North America, it's almost like we feel bad about ourselves if we didn't do a month's worth of work in today, right? So pause, be in the moment. The magic is in the moment. The magic is in the slowing down, our ability to connect to ourselves and to have those incredible new ideas and inventions come in. But we can't do that if we're always in that thinking brain. And then it come to me while you're talking, there's a great book called The Four Agreements, and talking about being in the now. So my favorite analogy from the book is, he goes, humans, something didn't go quite as right. And you're like, oh, I shoulda, coulda, woulda, I would have done it like this. And you have 10 arguments with 10 different people. It's all in your head. And then you have nature and you have animals, and there's a bird and it went and got a worm and it was going to feed its baby, and a hawk almost eats it and it drops the worm. It doesn't spend all day making itself bad and wrong that it drops the worm. It's in the now. It forgets the rest and it just goes, gets another worm. It's not like I could have got the worm. I should have got the worm. Like, it doesn't do any of that. It just goes and gets another worm. And so just for us, the humans, to get so caught up in that thinking brain, just to disconnect, to be in the now, and to disconnect our self-worth, connected to our productivity, to disconnect that. I think that's disruptive to wellness, a huge, especially in North America. But like you were saying, I don't think people would even know that's a possibility if they didn't experience it.
Yeah, you really have to. And that's why sometimes, though, it's good to listen to other people, talk to other people. If you can physically get out and visit other countries or different places just to see how other things are done. Because I think a lot of times we just keep ourselves in a bubble and we do things the way that we do them because that's the way we've always done them. That's the way everybody else has always done them too. And one of the greatest tips, if you can financially afford it, is to travel. Just see how people are doing things in other places around the world, and you will be mind blown. I love to travel. I think I've been to 34 countries. I'm really trying to increase that number. But everywhere I go, I learn something different. And it doesn't necessarily mean that there's a right or wrong, but you can just take little influences from each place and then create the life that you want, right? We have the power. So you can say, you know what? I like how I felt when I was in this place, or I like how I saw this person interacting with somebody. And I want to try that in my own life. I'm going to bring that into my own life. And then you start to make shifts. You use boundaries to guide, right? Sometimes you have to reclaim your time. So you have to be able to set boundaries, and you have to, and not just set them, you have to be able to
Keep
enforce them.
them.
I do a lot of that with my clients, is how to set boundaries. And the thing is, with my clients, I'm very considerate of setting compassionate boundaries.
Yeah.
Okay. Because a lot of times we think that we're setting boundaries of telling other people what to do. and it comes from a mean place. And when you're setting boundaries with loved ones, you don't want to be harsh, you don't want to be vile or anything like that. But there is still a way to set compassionate boundaries that honor the way you want to feel and that honor you and respect you and your time and your resources. And that's something I really do love working on with my coaching clients.
And I just want to say, I think for women, that's one of the hardest things to do, is to set boundaries. I don't think many do it at all, first of all. And second of all, when they do, they feel guilty. So they don't enforce them or keep them or honor them. And in NLP, we teach an exercise. So the question goes, do I want to? No is the full answer. The next is, okay, so say I do want to. Do I have the time, money, and energy? Yes, yes, and yes. Okay, yes, I'll do it. And here's the agreement. I'll only do it if it looks like this.
Mhm.
And then there needs to be a consequence. So if it doesn't, if the agreement isn't met, the consequence is like, well, I won't do it again for you. But that never happens. I think, especially as women, there's a people pleasing tactic that we always do, that we might set the boundary, it doesn't get kept, and then we don't enforce the consequence, which means that they begin to know us as people who don't keep our word, and we can just be walked over. And so boundary setting is essential to wellness. I just finished a book. It's called We Should All Be Millionaires.
Yeah,
And
Rachel Rogers.
yeah, so good. And she was
Yeah.
like, are you making broke ass decisions or are you making millionaire decisions? And I started to set boundaries in my life. And I literally started to feel so bad because I realized I'm making requests of people
Mhm.
that are in my highest interest and the highest interest of all involved. But normally I would just let them have it their way. And then I had to go deep to realize, well, why do I feel so bad about it? Because there's a fear that they won't like me if I set a boundary. And so
Yeah,
you've got to do your own inner work to figure out, like, why are we not enforcing those boundaries and setting those boundaries? And what's the fear on the other side? And I just had to be like, it's okay if not everyone likes me, and that's okay. Right? Like
it's
there's this,
absolutely okay.
they absolutely okay. Just had this conversation with my sister as well. You set your boundary, you don't need everyone to love you. Your health and wellness is first, right? And so your third tip, I know we've talked a lot already, and I'm just going to dive into it real quick, is to do it scared. So set the boundary scared, but specifically about all the things you've pivoted from, switching your business, switching your career. Tell us a little bit more about the last bit, how to do things scared.
Yeah, you know what? A lot of times in life, we hold ourselves back because we don't have it all figured out. And a lot of us are perfectionists and we want to do a good job and we care, we have integrity, we care about what the work we put up. But the problem with that is it holds us back from figuring things out because we actually figure things out in the messy, in the doing. Clarity comes in doing. I have an episode called that. And so we just need to, a lot of times people say, okay, well, be courageous and just give yourself a pep talk, and you can do that to an extent, but sometimes you just have to get things done scared. Sometimes I grab a mic and I go on the stage and I'm like, okay, hi everybody, right? You just do it scared. They don't need, you can be in two minds at the same time. I
Yeah.
think a lot of times in life we don't talk about duality, we talk about opposition. So it either has to be happy or
Mm,
sad. Guess what? You can be happy and sad at the same time. Okay, if I have a loved one who passes away, I'm going to be sad. But if I also won $1 million, at the same time, I'm going to be a little happy too. Okay, so there is duality in life, and we need to think about that. So it is okay to do something while being scared. Just get it done.
yeah.
Just get it done. You don't have to wait for all of the courage. You don't have to wait for all of the confidence to come. Just do it scared, and once you start doing the thing, then you can perfect it along the way.
Yes, I love it. Kelly Roche was my business coach, and she taught me build the plane in the air. And
Absolutely.
And that's when you do, like you said, the figuring out is in the doing. The magic is in the doing. And if we wait to get started till we're perfectly comfortable, well, guess what? We never get started because our best life is outside our comfort zone. And there's nothing left for us to learn and grow inside our comfort zone. So you got to feel the fear and do it anyways. And guess what? If it scares you, it's most likely going to be something good for you, because there's growth on
Absolutely.
the other side. So no matter what it is, There is no magic wand where all of a sudden you're gonna be like, now everything's perfect, let's go do it. You gotta just do it, right? Get messy, feel the fear, do it anyways, build the plane in the air. And then to enjoy that journey, be in the moment and make sure what you are doing is in alignment with those deepest desires, because we came here to live our life on purpose. We cannot pour from an empty cup. And if we aren't doing what fills us up, then we are pouring from an empty cup. So I love this. Is there any last piece of advice or anything you wanted to give everyone? And where can they learn more about you? And you have a free gift for them.
Yeah, I think my last gift would just be to live in authentic alignment for yourself. I'm really passionate about that. I think too many people are going through life unhappy, unfulfilled, not purpose driven, and it's because they're living a life that's not authentic to who they are and who they want to be. Okay? So I would say start there. Just figure out what you want, what is in alignment for you, and then go in that direction to make those things happen for yourself. I have a holistic wellness assessment, and this covers the 12 areas of wellness that I spoke about. It's rest, food, body, air, water, sun, mindset, spirituality, finances, purpose, relationships. Okay, so I want you to figure out, where are you at? How do you score in all of those areas? Wherever the areas are that you score low, address those areas first, because it will impact your well-being in the most positive way if you address those areas first. And when you take the assessment, if you're stuck and you're like, I'm not really sure how to bring up these areas, then send me a message. I'm happy to chat with you and help you figure out some ideas, because we all deserve to be thriving and we need to create the vision of the healthy life we want for ourselves. It doesn't just happen.
I love it. I love it. You got it. If you can think about it, you can hold it in your hand, Bob would say. So first, the vision must be created up here, and truly treating yourself and your life like a whole is what is going to leave you happy and fulfilled. And that is exactly what you all came here to do. So figure out what sets your soul on fire and make sure you're treating yourself and your life like a whole, because everything is interconnected. Such a great episode and conversation. Make sure you grab that free gift. The link is in the description. Thank you, Natalie, so much, guys. Make sure you connect with her. She's an incredible coach, an incredible entrepreneur, and she's here to make the world a better place. So thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely my pleasure. So remember, everyone, stay happy, healthy, wealthy, expect magic and miracles, and what is the best that can happen. We'll see you on the next episode. Thank you.